Welcome to the Rusted Garden Homestead. This video is all about pruning your indeterminate tomatoes. So there's basically two types of tomatoes. You have your determinate variety, which gets to a set height, flowers, produces fruit. Those types of tomatoes, determinate variety, you really don't prune, or you prune very lightly. It's the indeterminate varieties that will get 6, 7, 8, 9 feet. They just keep growing and growing until the frost kills them off or pests or disease kill them off. So this plant will continue to grow. It's going to get 7 or 8 feet tall. So, number one, do you have to prune your tomato plants? And the answer is no, you do not have to prune. These are vines, so this plant would naturally fall over. Whatever part of the plant contacts the ground in the growing area, like the main stem right here, it would start to root out and it will just kind of sprawl across the ground, creating new vines, which are right in here. This is what we call a sucker. However, it's really a production stem. This will just become one long big stem. It's going to produce leaves and flowers, and it will fruit. And this will just grow and grow. So if you're going to prune your indeterminate varieties, you're doing it for 3 reasons. One, you want to contain the size because you just don't need a massive plant. 2, you get diseases and pests that come in, so you're trying to prune the size so you get more airflow. It's easier to manage the pests, the diseases. Or 3, some people want to grow massive, heavy tomatoes, like the 2-pounders, 3-pounders, 4-pounders. So by pruning the plants, leaving more leaves, less flower clusters, fewer tomatoes, you can take all that energy coming into the plant and really grow, fair size tomatoes for fairs, trying to win, a contest for the largest tomato or something like that. Whatever you decide to do, that's up to you. There is no perfect way to prune. I start off pruning nicely. I remove stuff from the bottom and then my plants kind of get out of control, but that's okay. So pruning is not perfection. You don't have to do it, but here's how you would do it. So first thing, let's go over the tomato plant. This is the main stem. The main stem comes up, a leaf goes out, a leaf goes out, and then right in these joints, this is what's commonly known as a sucker. And again, these will turn into production vines, which is what I like to call them, because they produce flowers and tomatoes. They don't harm the tomato plant, but I really don't want any vines coming out the bottom 12 inches of my tomato plant. I also remove the leaves, which we'll do at the end. I create a splash barrier from the soil up to about 12 inches on my tomato plant, slowly over time. Like you wouldn't take off 12 inches right now, you're going to harm the plant. But I remove the suckers out of here, and then I will remove these leaves at the end. As this continues to go upward, it's a little confusing because you think the main stem would go straight up. That's not the main stem. The main stem is coming this way, and now you see a cluster of flowers and actually a little tomato on there. So that is 4 flowers. I'll probably get 4 tomatoes. The main stem continues up, then you get another leaf branch, another leaf branch. This is a sucker right in there, kind of tiny. Just pull it out. And then as you go up, another cluster of flowers. So single pruning to a single stem, or it's called single stem pruning, you would just follow this up, and this will just continue up 6, 7, 8 feet, and you remove all the suckers out. You're just keeping the main stem, a single stem. The leaves stay intact, the suckers get pulled out, and then, like in this case, it's like every 2 leaves a flower cluster forms, and you just manage your plant that way. Some people like to do double stem pruning. So here we have the main stem. It's coming out this way, and this was a sucker. This was the tiny, let's see if I found it. I threw them on the ground. This part right here was the sucker that starts out really small, stays in a joint, and it'll keep growing. This would be the second stem. So you see how we would keep this production stem right here, and it will continue to grow. We have a nice V shape. And as you look up here, you see this production stem continue to go up, 1 leaf, 2 leaf, and then right in here is a flower cluster forming. So you would end up with 2 stems, or double stem pruning, and they would just continue upward, and you would just keep looking for the suckers or the production stems in the joints, and you would remove them. And here's one right here. So this right here is the sucker or a production stem if you leave it, so you remove it out. So this tomato plant starts with the single stem going this way. We let one sucker develop into a production stem. Now this would be called double stem pruning. And as it continues upward, we remove the suckers in the joints, and you end up with two stems. You double your production, and you can manage the size of your plant. So now I go over this pretty often. You know, I've said double stem, single stem, all that many times because it's really confusing. The best way to figure it out is if this is the main stem of your tomato plant, this is a leaf coming out. Right in this joint is where that sucker production stem comes, and you just pop that out so they're nice and clear. Now this plant, I don't know, is about 18 inches tall. I will slowly remove branches from the bottom so that I can make a nice gap between the soil and the upper leaves eventually. That allows for airflow, stops soil splash from coming on, and it's just a nice way to manage the plant. When it gets a little bit taller, I will take this leaf off. When it gets a little bit taller, I will take this leaf off. And see, it gets a little bit confusing. So as we're talking, right in here, I notice another sucker. I want that gone. And again, the main stem 1, the production stem 2. You could do 3, you could do 3 stems, you could leave one on. It's really up to you, but this is pretty well managed when you stick with 2 stems. You can manage the size of the plant, that's fine. I do this pretty well through June. Once July comes, my plants are usually managed nicely up for the first 3 feet, and then I kind of just let it go crazy. So it's not about perfection, it's just about choice, but that's how you would remove suckers, keep suckers or production stems, single stem pruning, double stem pruning. Hope that makes sense. If you have questions, leave it for me in the comments. Thanks so much for watching. Please check out my seed shop at therustedgarden.com. And sure, one more review. Main stem, second stem. That's the sucker that's developing. And then you can see right here there's 15 flowers already forming. That's going to be 15 tomatoes. Again, thanks for watching.